or the coming quarter, or even the coming month. We don't know anymore because of this huge disruption that happened amid this pandemic and this weak economy. So it's imperative and very important to have a system in place that will help us at least to, go through these disruptions with the least losses possible and least interruption possible. And that's why we have today Mr. Mohamad Fawaz, who is an expert in risk management and business continuity and conformity assessment in general. He has many, many years, over 35 years of auditing and training experience in these topics. And so just before I turn it on to him, just a couple of things. Everyone is on mute, so we can have a smooth session. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us through the chat facility. We will also leave 15 to 20 minutes at the end to answer all of your questions. So, Mr. Mohamad, please go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Qasim. Good day, everybody, and welcome to this session on Business Continuity Management System. And hopefully you'll all enjoy it, and hopefully will give you something beneficial. The session will be, I guess, for 45 minutes, and then we'll leave room for questions at the end of the session. If you have any urgent question, you can put it on the chat, and then we can answer it, please. Let's start with asking the simple question. Do we need business continuity management in our life, in our organizations? Is it something necessary or not? I guess we can all say, yeah, it's something very important. We are all in business so that business can continue. There is an old saying, they say the business of business is to stay in business and grow. So yeah, that's very important. We open business so we can serve needs and we can stay in this business. And it depends how successful we are, we can leave any business we open to next generations so they can continue. We all know that there are organizations in this world that are like hundreds of years old. Some organizations in Japan, in Canada, in United States, in Sweden. I know, for example, there's a company in Sweden that's like 800 years old. Same company. Okay, but with different services and different products over the years, but they are still there. They still exist and they still go on generation after generation. How they do it, I'm sure at that time there was no business continuity concept, but well, now we have it. So probably they were implementing business continuity principles and concepts and they were successful at it. So now today we're going to discuss business continuity and what does it mean. Based on a standard ISO 22301-2019, we are going to discuss what is business continuity management system. I'm not going to go through what's ISO. I guess, I believe probably that you all know what's ISO and how it operates. If you want me to explain something about ISO and about ISO organization and how it operates, please let me know. But if not, I don't think we need to really worry about that. Standards in the family of the business continuity management system 22301, which is the requirements that an organization would have to establish and implement and maintain. 22300 is a standard that would support 22301 on vocabulary and terminology. There is the 22313, which is a guidance document on how to implement 22301. And of course, there's always the 19011 standard, which is the guideline on auditing management system. This could be a good standard to audit any type of management system. Of course, there are other documents on auditing guidelines that are developed for different standards, and every standard sometime they develop for it some specific auditing guidelines on how to audit that standard specifically, because it's not the generic thing that they need, but more than the generic. Of course, you all know probably there are other standards in the ISO families of standards, the quality management system, information security management system, risk management system, and so on, and we don't want to worry about that. But let's start by talking about the business continuity management system. What does it mean? Okay, so what exactly we are looking in the business continuity management system? we are looking to make sure that our business will be able to continue operating, okay, if there's any disruption. So we are operating normally, and we are at 100% probably productivity level, and we are delivering all the services and all the products that we are supposed to deliver to our customers, and suddenly we have a disruption. And we are all living in a big disruption today, this pandemic of COVID-19, and it was not anticipated by anyone. Those organizations that had a business continuity management system in place, or at least a business continuity plan or plans, probably they were able to cope with this pandemic better than other companies that did not have any kind of business continuity management system or plans. Some of the acronyms that's going to be used here, like we have business continuity management system, business continuity plan, business impact analysis, the ISO organization, International Organization for Standardization, MTPD, maximum tolerable period of disruption, PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, and our organization, SMG, giving this course, and RTO, recovery time objective. We will also talk about RPO, recovery point objective. So these are some of the terminology. So we start by discussing what is the scope of 22301. In every management system standard in the ISO world, there is always a clause on the scope of the standard. It means what is the standard about, why it is in place, what does it cover, okay, when we implement it, what we are hoping to achieve by implementing that standard. So this document, ISO 22301, specifies requirements to implement, maintain, and improve a management system to protect against, reduce the likelihood of the occurrence of, prepare for, respond to, and recover from disruptions when they arise. So the key word here is the word disruption. So we need to anticipate or make a list of what kind of disruptions we might have, okay? So what kind of, we have disruptions and we do have emergencies also, we do have crises. So we have disruption, we have emergencies, we have crisis. Here they talk about disruptions, and in the standard, they will also cover crisis management, and they will also cover emergency management. But basically, as an organization, we're going to ask ourselves, if something happened, a disruption, it could be any type of disruption, natural disruption, human disruptions, technical disruptions, financial disruption, strike, whatsoever, okay? Any uprising, I mean, in a country like what happened in many countries today, could be a disruption from any type. What we will do if disruption will happen? What is the minimum service that we need to keep in our organization that we can survive? Every organization today, for example, with the pandemic of COVID-19, we are going to look at how much money do we need to earn so we can survive, so we cannot lose money, so we can continue in the future when and if we discover any cure for this COVID-19, so people can go back to normal life. So the question would be always, what is the minimum acceptable or minimum business continuity objective that we need to have in place, MBCO they call it, that the minimum business continuity objective that we need, like at what level we need to work. At 10% of our services, at 20% of our services, at 50% of our services. And in this case, if we decide that, then we need to specify what are the activities in the business continuity management system. They talk about activities, and then consider it as talking about processes. Okay, like activities and processes are the same. So what processes or what activities are critical in our business that we need definitely to keep operating during a disruption, and how we can make sure that those activities can be kept operating during a disruption. And there are so many scenarios that we need to put in place. And in the standard, they talk about strategies and scenarios, okay, that you put in place. What scenarios do I need to have so I can continue my business during a disruption? So basically, business continuity system is to be able to continue operating during a disruption at a level that will make us survive the disruption and return to normal after the disruption. So that's the disaster recovery. After the disaster, after the disruption, we have a recovery, and then we can have a recovery plan, and we can make sure that we can implement the recovery plan and go back to normal. So the 22301 is applicable to any type of organizations. So we can use it for any organization, for any type of business, education, healthcare, industry, law firm, whatsoever, training organization, certification business, transportation, logistics, any type of organization can use this standard. Now, many organizations, mainly in the IT business, they are using it more than other people, but now it's gaining ground and gaining acceptance, not only by the IT organizations, but by all type of organizations. So any organization that need to implement, maintain, and improve a business continuity management system seek to ensure conformity with the stated business continuity policy. Like any other management system standard, you need a policy for your management system that you are working with, and need to be able to continue to deliver products and services at an acceptable predefined capacity during a disruption. That's what I was talking about. We need to have a predefined capacity that we need to say, if we operate at that level, then we are okay. And seek to enhance the resilience through the effective application of a business continuity management system. And this can be used to meet your own requirements. The 22313 is a guidance on how to implement 22301. So business continuity is the capability of the organization to continue delivery of product or services at acceptable predefined capacities following a disruption. Business continuity management is the process of implementing and maintaining business continuity in order to prevent loss and prepare for, mitigate, and manage disruptions. We already discussed that. Establishing a business continuity management system will enable the organization to do that, control, evaluate, and continue to improve a business continuity, which is to be able to deliver at a predefined level our products and our services. Because disruptions have the potential to interrupt our organization entirely or partially. It depends on the type of the disruption. However, when we have a business continuity system, we can continue business if a disruption continues. So what are the basics of business continuity? First, we have to identify our products and services and the activities that deliver them. As I said, when we say activities that deliver them, meaning the processes that we are going to put in place to deliver those products and services. So we're going to make a list, a library of all our product and services, and then make a list of all our processes that will help us to deliver those products and services. Analyzing the impacts of not resuming the activities and the resources they depend on. So if there is a disruption and we cannot resume the activity, what are the impacts on our business and what resources do we need so that we can continue operating? And when we talk about resources, and many companies and many organizations, when they talk about resources, they forget that they need also to talk about human resources. Today we were doing a stage 1 audit on a company, and they were having all the kind of sources of disruptions, but one of the things they forget to put is human resources as one source of disruption. Anyhow, so when we talk about resources, we talk about human resources, infrastructures, work environment, measuring resources, knowledge that we need, communication. All these are resources, and of course financial resources that we need to be able to resume activities after a disruption. Understanding the risk of disruption. So when we identify potential disruptions, we will do a risk assessment and understand what are the risks that will be generated or caused by that disruption. Determining priorities. Okay, priorities mean I have a list of products and services and I have a list of processes. So what are the critical processes? What are the non-critical processes? What are the critical products? What are the critical services? And what are the non-critical products and non-critical services. And when we talk about criticality, we also need to talk about what are the critical resources, mainly human resources. So sometimes, for example, in a business and in a company, you may have a lot of human resources, but for some reason or the other, one process that is critical, you may not have too many people that understand how to operate that process or how to implement that process. Then this person or this 2 persons or 3 persons will become critical resources that you need to know how to keep them and make sure they are going to be available. And that's a big problem for many organizations. In a hospital, for example, I don't know, probably an infection control a person might be the only one. You might have only one person that understands infection control. Okay, what do you do if this person is not there during a disruption? How you can replace that person? So you need to be careful on when determining priorities, okay, and time frames, capacity, and strategies for resuming the delivery of product and services during disruption. So we have before disruption, these are our resources. During the disruption, then we need to make sure that we have the minimum resources needed to be able to work at the minimum predefined level. And then we have after disruption, how we can do the recovery and make sure everyone will be in place. And this is one issue here that for some organizations, when they have disruptions, they tend to lay out and let some of their people go, employees. And then they come back to work and they need them, but they may not be able to find them because they have left and they work somewhere else. And then you need to hire new people and train them and whatsoever. So when you do the risk analysis, you need to calculate what's the cost of let go someone who is very important to me, but is expensive during a disruption to pay for. But then after recovery, how I'm going to get that person again to be able to operate. That's very important as a strategy for human resources when we do want to put a recovery plan in place and make sure that after the disruption, we can recover with the full capacity, and we need to have the proper resources to be able to recover. Having solutions and plans in place to resume the activity within the required time frame following a disruption. Now, sometimes, like the COVID-19, we don't know when we are going to go back to normal operation, so we are in constant way of disruption. Then we need to implement our business continuity differently. So making sure that these arrangements are routinely reviewed and updated so that they will be effective in all circumstances. So basically, when we put a business continuity plan or a disaster recovery plan or an emergency plan or crisis management plan, okay, and we develop it, we need to test it from time to time to make sure it is going to work if we have a disruption. Because if we don't test it, come a disruption, we may be surprised that this is not going to work. So we need to make sure that any arrangement we put in place, business continuity plan, recovery plan, disaster recovery plan, crisis management plan, emergency response plan, those are the arrangements that you're going to be having in place. They are going to work when you have a disruption. So the organization's approach to business continuity management and its documented information should be appropriate to its context, operating environment, complexity, needs, resources, and can be effective in dealing with both sudden disruption, like explosions, and gradual ones, like pandemics. So we need to make sure that the disruptions we list is not only one type of disruption, but many possible types of disruptions that we might have. Benefits of a business continuity management system, I'm not going to worry about that. I guess we all understand the benefits, mainly that we are all living now in a disruption. So we all understand that if we have a business continuity plan, there are a lot of benefits. So we can achieve our objectives, we can continue business, we can reduce risk, we can meet legal requirements, we can meet customer needs before the minimum services and minimum. Today, many places you go to them and ask them for a service, they tell you we are closed because of the COVID-19. But what is the minimum service that I can get? All right. And we talk about a company level. At a country level, all countries, for example, when they do lockdown for the country, but they still have minimum services or essential services, sorry, that they cannot close. They cannot close a hospital, for example, or a pharmacy or whatsoever, but because without that, you cannot work. So there are all kinds of benefits from implementing business continuity management system. Some misunderstanding of a business continuity management system. Some people will tell you it's all about natural disasters. Is that correct? Do you think this is correct? It's all about natural disasters? You can give your opinion if you want on a chat, or you can talk. Qasim will allow you will unmute you. Anyone would like to give an opinion? Is it about natural disasters only?
No, I don't think it's just natural disasters. I think it can really apply to any. It's a good practice for any business.
So it's not only about. It could be any disruption, not necessarily only. It could be a disruption from a legal aspect. It could be disruption from technical aspect. It could be disruption from economical aspect. It could be any disruption. Take, for example, fluctuation of currency. That's a disruption. Okay, so it's not necessarily only natural disaster. We have a plan, so we are ready. Okay, so if you have a plan, doesn't mean you are ready. Have you tested that plan? Does it cover all the possible disruptions? Is it known by everyone? Is it working? Do you know that it's going to work or not? So having a plan is not enough. We have tested our plan, so we are all set. Okay, tested the plan. Was it effective? Did it work? Or you need to improve it? IT department is responsible for developing and exercising the business continuity plan. That's another big problem. Many companies, they think if IT is operating, if our servers, or if we are using cloud service, or it's working, then if our computers are working, then everything is working. If our backup system is working, then everything is working. Even with the backup system, if you don't tell the IT that you need to back up something, they will not do it. So it's not correct that we put all this responsibility on the IT department. Of course, they will play a big role in a business continuity management system because we are all now working with this technology, using technology. So, but they are not the only one that are responsible for the business continuity plan or business continuity management system. A business continuity plan is not necessary because your staff will always be there and you can count on them to do the right thing. And this is another misunderstanding and another problem because not necessarily that the staff will always be there. The staff can get sick, the staff can get hired, can get hired by other people, staff cannot get to work. If there is a flooding, if there is a strike, if there is a traffic problem, they may not be able to get to work on time. They may not get access to the building or whatsoever. If there is any kind of a attack or whatsoever incident in the building and they cannot get in, so you cannot depend on that. So we need to have a plan to say, if we cannot have our staff in operation, what shall we do and how we can cover from that. Business continuity plans and disaster recovery plan are the same thing. That's not correct. Recovery plans after the disruption, business continuity plan to deal during the disruption. So I'm implementing the business continuity plan when we have the disruption. After the disruption, the recovery plan will come into effect so we can go back to normal. One disaster recovery plan meets all scenario requirements. Again, this is not correct because each scenario is different. So we need as many recovery plans as scenarios, as many scenarios that we might have. Longer distance means better disaster protection. Well, again, this is not correct. If we are far from each other or we are far from problems or whatsoever, it's not correct because we may have still problems in them. IT and business users have the same interest in business continuity. That's not correct. We all have different concerns. We all have different interests, so it's not correct. Section 3, fundamentals of business continuity. So we already discussed what's business continuity. Business continuity plan we'll discuss. Business impact analysis, prioritized activities, disruption, and business continuity principle. We already said what is business continuity, so it's deal with disruption and ensure that we can continue. Business continuity plan is the plan that we'll put in place after we do a risk assessment and a business impact analysis to decide how we're going to deal with a disruption. So the business continuity plan should contain information about the critical functions and processes of the organization. So as we said, we make a list of all our processes and activities, and we divide them into critical, non-critical, or some people, they might divide them in very critical, critical, non-critical, very non-critical. It's up to you to decide how you want to do it. On the identification of the system and process that must be sustained, on the maintenance of the system and processes by taking into account potential business disruption. So business continuity plan will have all the critical functions and processes in place, and what system we are going to use when there is a disruption. And when we say what system, it means all roles, responsibilities are supposed to be also in place. Who is going to do and activate or operate this system? A part of the business continuity plan is the recovery team that's built by an organization which depends on the number of its employees and the types of disaster or incident to which it needs to respond. The organization should identify the person that would be responsible in responding to a disaster or incident and an appropriate backup in case of their unavailability. So the business continuity plan will deal with these things. Of course, we're not going to go into details. We've just given a brief on each topic. Business impact analysis functions and processes with the highest operational and financial impacts become a priority within a recovery plan. The time when those functions and processes are recovered before the occurrence of any unacceptable consequence is known as recovery time objective. Now, business impact analysis is we analyze the impact on the business of a disruption, and then we put into that business impact analysis how much this will cost us in terms of financial, operation, reputation, market, health and safety, whatsoever. So we need to identify the impacts on health, impacts on environment, impacts on finance, impacts on resources, impacts on market, impacts on all these things. So when we say there is disruption, that disruption will have impact, and that's the business impact analysis. Now, we do it before risk assessment, we do it after risk assessment, it doesn't matter, but we need to do a business impact analysis, which means, what is the difference between the business impact analysis and the risk assessment? Risk assessment deals always with proactivity. So proactive activities or that we will do, proactive things that we will do so that a risk will not happen. Business impact analysis, we are saying the disruption is happening, or if it happens, what will be the impact on our business? And then what our recovery that we will do, what our reactive measures. So risk assessment deals with the proactive measures, and business impact assessment or analysis, deals with the reactive measures that we need to do if there is a disruption. These are the impacts that we anticipate to have on our business, it be financial or health and safety or environment, and then what are our reactive measures that we need to do so we can go back to normal. And then we will need to have objectives called RTO, recovery time objective. So if there is a disruption, how long we can afford that disruption for. An easy example that we can always use in the IT service, for example, if you go to a bank and they tell you the system is down. Okay, for how long? 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes? So the reactive measures is to put the system back into operation. So there is a disruption, it will impact on the business in a way. These are the measures that we're going to put in place so we can put this business into normal and recover. And that's why we need to identify our recovery time objective. So the period of time following an incident or a disruption within which a product or service or an activity is resumed or resources are recovered. So that's what we do in the business impact analysis. Prioritized activities, we discussed that already. What are the critical activities? How they depend on each other, and what's the impact if they are not operating? Disruptions, we discussed about disruption, and we said anything could be a disruption. So sometimes disruptions may have something you cannot recover, or may have impacts that will be unmanageable by the organization. That's why we need to make sure that we know those disruptions and we deal with them, and we put reactive measures to deal with those disruptions. And if we can put proactive measures that those disruptions will not happen, that will be nice. It's not always easy, But some disruptions can be prevented, not all of them, okay? And so we need to try to see if we can put a disruption, prevent it from happening, but that's not always possible. Business continuity principles, top management responsibility, measure operational disruption, communication, and testing. So top management have the ultimate responsibility, and they should have a team to do the work. They should be committed to the business and make sure that they care about their employees and not only about the business. So we need to care about the business. We also need to care about our employees. Measure operation disruptions. Business continuity management system should address how the organization will react to major disruptions. We already discussed that. Measure operation disruptions pose a significant risk. That's why we need to know how to address them. And all organizations should incorporate the risk of a major operation disruption in their business continuity plan. So we need to know in our business continuity plan how to deal with the disruption. Top management will play a major role in that. Communication is very, very important during a disruption. And we need to know who is communicating with who. We need to make sure that we can communicate, and we need to put all the scenarios in place that what if we cannot communicate? All right, definitely if there's disruption, we might lose internet connection, we might lose cellular phone connection, we might lose electricity. So how we are going to communicate with each other? Communication is about communicating with our clients, with the community, with our suppliers, and with our staff. So we communicate with everyone. We need to communicate with the customer to tell them how we will react. We need to communicate with our suppliers to see how they will help us to be able to continue our business. And we need to communicate with this community around us to see the legal authorities, the neighbors, whosoever, and with the employees to see how we can get in touch with our employees so they can stay in business and continue operating. We need to do testing of our business continuity plan, make sure the business continuity plan is working, okay, and is effective. And if after testing there is any problem, we can rectify the plan, okay? Testing should be conducted on a regular basis. It depends on the disruption, it depends on the risk, the level of risk, we do the testing. So the business continuity management system, the requirements of the business continuity system, like any other management system, based on the Plan, Do, Check, Act. It has the clauses 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, like any other management system today developed by ISO. So clause 4 was the context of the organization, clause 5, leadership, 6, planning, 7, support, 8, operation, 9, performance evaluation, and 10, improvement. So basically, context of the organization is having it 4.1 to 4.4, understanding the organization its context. What is the environment we are working with internally? What procedure, what system, what processes, what policies do we have in regards to business continuity management system? That's our internal context. External context, the environment, externally, legal environment, economic environment, societal technology, and whatsoever. These are all the external environment. Then in understanding the needs and expectations of interested parties, these are all the people or organizations that may need to operate with us, customers, suppliers, employees, government authorities, all our partners or our interested parties, what their needs are in regards to business continuity management system. The scope of our system, what is the scope of our system? Means where this business continuity management system will be implemented in our organization. Are we going to implement it on everything or only on part of our operation? So is it going to be only IT department? Is it going to be all services, some of the services, critical services? We can implement it in all the organization, but we have to be careful that our business continuity plan will need to cover everything, and risk assessment will need to cover everything. Business impact analysis will need to cover everything. So we need to determine where this business continuity management system will be implemented in our organization, and then we have to put the system in place, all the system, planning, doing, checking, acting. Section 5, leadership. Top management have to play a big role in the system to make sure it's going to work. They need to provide resources, they need to support the business continuity, and they need to implement business continuity on their own roles, like the strategy they put in place and how this strategy can cope with any disruption. And they need to communicate with everybody about business continuity management system, and need to have a basic knowledge about business continuity management system principles and concepts. They have to put a policy in place that's going to be aligned with their strategy, and policy that will deal with the disruptions, and the policy as a framework for setting objectives. Roles, responsibilities, authorities are very, very important. They need to be set. And here we're not talking about roles, responsibilities, authorities about our routine works. Here we're talking about roles, responsibilities, authorities during a disruption. Who does what during a disruption, who communicates with who, and who is supposed to be taking care of the reactive measures if there is a disruption. Clause 6, action to address risk and opportunities. Based on the context, based on the needs of interested parties, based on the critical operations, critical services, critical products, critical processes, we will set risks and opportunities, and we put objectives. Okay, what are our objectives? Here, objective for every disruption you're going to identify, you're going to put business continuity objective like RPOs and RTOs. Okay, recovery period objective and recovery time objectives for every disruption you're going to list in your system. And if there are any changes, how you deal with the changes. Resources, it's normal that we have the resources, human resources, infrastructure, and work environment, and all the equipment, all the assets that we have. These are all resources. And when we talk about resources, we make sure that we identify the critical resources that we need to have in place, and we list them and we make sure they're available, and how to maintain them and how to use them during a disruption. Competency of people. Competency means that you are competent to do your normal work, but you are also competent to deal with a disruption and to make sure you can take the actions needed if there is disruption, and after the disruption for the recovery. Awareness, that everyone must be aware. We do training for people. We train them. We make sure they are all trained and competent in doing their job. Communication, we'll discuss already communication, internal, external communication. Communication with suppliers, customers, authorities, community, with staff. All these are communication. Documentation, like any other system, you need to document your system and make sure you have control of documents and control of records and confidentiality of your documents, confidentiality of your records, and see how you make sure that your documentation will help you implement the system. Section 8, operation. You have operational planning and control. So you need to make your plan. You do your business impact analysis and risk assessment. As we discussed, business impact analysis, the impact on the business. You analyze the impact on the business after a disruption and what reactive measures you're going to put in place, crisis management and emergency situations. Business continuity strategy and solution. Based on the impacts, based on the risk assessment, you're going to put strategies. Strategies meaning scenarios. What I will do, how I'm going to continue operating if a disruption happens. What's my strategy? Do we work from home, for example? As an example, we have COVID-19. The strategy for many people, we are working online. Like today, we are delivering this session online. But not everyone can work online. Transportation business, for example, is not possible to do it online, no? We cannot. Operation in a hospital cannot be done online. Okay, some of us are lucky that they can do their business online. Not everyone is lucky to do it online. So if you cannot do it online, what's your strategy? What you can do, what you will do, how you're going to cope with it, and how you will make the business operating at the minimum level. So that's your strategy, identifying all the possible scenarios, okay, and then solutions that you put in place. And based on the strategy and solution, you build a business continuity plan and you put procedures that will answer the business impact analysis and risk assessment and the strategy and the scenarios and the solutions that you have in place. 8.5 is exercise program. As I said, you make a business continuity plan, then you test it, you exercise it and see, is it working, is it good, and from time to time. So The frequency of the testing depends on the risk and on the type of disruption you are exercising the business continuity plan. Evaluation of business continuity documentation capabilities. You need to make sure from time to time to evaluate that your documentation is up to date and it is adequate to deal with your business continuity management system. Let me give you a simple example on a business impact analysis. Okay.
Just a second. Let's see if anyone has any question at this point before we go into this example.
Yeah. Anyone has a question?
Anyone, please let us know.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, hi. I have a question here. So we mentioned that one of the activities that we need to take while we are planning or implementing business continuity system is to look at the scenarios, right? Or what things can go wrong, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think that will tide the businesses, because if something happened that they did not consider while they do their analysis, now doesn't that put the business on some sort of dilemma on how they're gonna deal with that situation that they have not considered before while they do their analysis?
It's possible. It is possible that when you list disruptions or emergencies or crisis situations, that you miss something. Like take for example COVID-19. Was it anyone anticipated it before? We all were. So. We were all surprised by it, no? But if you have a business continuity management system in place, it means you have a team that can meet right away, okay, and act immediately to find a scenario to deal with it. But if you have not been trained on that, you don't know what to do.
Exactly, and that's my point. So so why not the focus on finding the framework, finding this team, finding this SME who can support the business if there is any disruption, but not focusing on listing each and every disruption possible?
No,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, okay, this is fine. But you see, if you have already listed the disruption, possible disruption, and you have already tested, if it happens, it's very easy for you to deal with it and act. You don't need to sit and discuss and put a solution, because for the COVID-19, it took companies, all companies, a while to be able to put a plan in place and deal with it. But if we knew about it and we have a plan ahead, then we just implement the plan. So we save time.
Okay, got it.
You need to save time. So we don't wait. Oh, okay, when it happens, we see what to do. No, if I know that this is something possible, that it might happen, and I have a plan in place, okay, so if it happens, and I have already tested that plan, I have trained people on that plan, so we go ahead and implement the plan. Much more easier than, deciding what to do. Okay, if something happened and we have not anticipated it, then we need to sit and discuss what to do.
Okay, is it a requirement by the ISO that we list these disruption or possible? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it is a requirement from the standard. Okay.
Okay,
all right.
Perfect.
Here's an example that we clarify. Anyone else has a question?
Yeah, actually, I had a comment to this last gentleman's point here. I understand the scope of his question. I mean, yeah, to your point, if somebody had a general plan for an event like a pandemic or an event where people are all stuck at home, then you could come up with a generalized plan. I think COVID caught a lot of companies flat-footed because no one ever conceived that this could be a problem. I mean, it would be no different than somebody thinking of what would be your plan if a meteorite hit the planet or something like that. I mean, it's impossible in many ways to come up with exact plans for every real specific scenario. But to your point, with this standard is coming up with something, a generalized plan to deal with certain events, and probably that's as far as you can go.
Yeah, you can only anticipate and put plans for things you can think about, has happened before, or you possibly might happen. But things that you can not imagine, of course, you're not going to put plans for them. You know, we're not going to spend too much money on putting plans for something that might happen in 1,000 years. We don't know. So, and if we don't know it, we don't know it. But at least if we know something might happen, okay, or an incident has happened before, okay, so why we have to wait? We put a plan, we test it, we use it, and if it happens, we know what to do. Okay, a lot of disruptions are easy to deal with, okay, but they are still called disruption. Okay, and for the customer, it is a disruption. So as a customer, we don't want to be waiting in a bank or in a hospital or in a store or in any way, in a traffic. So if there is a plan in place and they know what to do with it, then it will be much more easier for the people, no? And for the business, that's costly.
Probably we have room for one more question. And if we're good, we can continue.
Okay, here is an example about business impact analysis without continuity plan, and we'll see it with the continuity plan. So here we talk about critical asset, the heart. So we were talking about critical equipment of the organization, critical asset of the organization, and critical activity. So the asset is the heart, and the critical activity is pumping blood. So normally we are operating at 100% normal operation, meaning the blood, the heart is pumping blood properly, effectively, the way it's supposed to be done. And suddenly we have a cardiac arrest. So in 1 minute, our brain cells will begin to die, but survival is possible in 1 minute. In 3 minutes, if nothing happened, we might die. Serious brain damage likely. In 10 minutes, brain cells have died, recovery unlikely, and recovery is virtually impossible. So we have a death here. So there is no recovery plan. There is no business continuity plan. We don't know what to do. But if at least we have a plan and we know what we have to do, then probably we run the chance to survive. So here is a business impact analysis with a plan. So normal operation here, the heart supposed to be pumping blood normally, but we have a cardiac arrest. So recovery time objective, less than 1 minute. In less than 1 minute, we should start doing something. The minimum business continuity objective is 40% of normal. So if the heart is pumping at 40% of its normal pumping, then we run the chance to survive. That's the minimum we need to have, 40%. So if we have a plan and we are equipped with a defibrillator, or someone can train on CPR first and then do the CPR until we get to a defibrillator in 3 minutes, we can restart the heart. Then the ambulance will arrive. Then in 10 minutes, we can stabilize the patient and we can have recovery. But this needs a plan. And in the plan, we need who is going to do that? Who is going to do the CPR? First, who is going to call 999 or in Canada 911? Okay. In Lebanon, I don't know. What's in Lebanon, the number? For those from Lebanon. Wafa, do you know what's the number in Lebanon?
I have no idea.
No, I was saying if Wafa Al-Hajj is still with us.
Hello, Mr. Fawaz. Yes, I'm still.
What is the number in Lebanon if you want to call?
Actually, we call the Red Cross is 114.
114, okay.
Yes,
so,
for the Red Cross.
So the business continuity plan would say who is going to call the number, okay, if at home, is it so everyone must know the number. Who's going to do CPR? Are we trained on CPR? Where is the defibrillator? Do we know where we can find the first easy defibrillator? And then who's going to call when the ambulance will arrive? So if there is a plan for that, we run the chance to have a recovery. Otherwise, we don't have a recovery. So if we are all trained in the company, in the organization on this, then we can help each other. If we are not trained and we say, okay, if a cardiac arrest happens, we will see what we will do. Definitely, no one will survive. Is that correct or not? So we try to put this in place, and then this way we can have some survival. Anyhow,
thank you. Got the idea.
Okay. So section 9, monitoring internal audit management review. Like any other management system, you do monitor your business continuity plan and how you implement it and how you test it and how you evaluate it and analyze it, evaluate it, and do this. You do internal audit on the system, and top management will review the system from time to time to make sure it's working. Then you have the improvement. Whenever you have non-conformity or corrective action, you deal with the non-conformity and corrective action, and we do continued improvement for the system. So it's based on plan, do, check, act, normal operation. Any question? So I guess we take, well, okay, it's 55. We started 7:05, so we took 50 minutes. That's not bad. Okay.
I have a question here, if I'm allowed.
Go ahead. Yes, of course you are
Yeah,
allowed.
so so we have a company, right? We have suppliers. So in our company, for example, we did that. We did the business continuity plan. But then, how do we make sure that this business continuity is continued through our supply chain, right? For example, if I depend on my suppliers to do something, then I have my, you know what I mean? Like how do we,
Yes,
yeah.
let me tell you. You see, when you have a business continuity management system, one of the requirements of the standard is to have something we call SLA, service level agreements. So you need to look at your critical operations, critical processes, and ask yourself, for every critical product or service, for every critical process I have, do I have suppliers for those? Yes, if you say, yes, I have a supplier for those, or suppliers for those, then you go and talk with your suppliers and see how they are going to help you in your business continuity plan, how they are going to help you when you have a disruption. So you agree with them on their role that they have to do if you have a disruption. You agree with so you have a contract with them, okay? In the contract, you spell out your recovery time, okay, objective for them. So I need for example, I have a disruption. Let's say, for example, simple example, you have a warehouse and you have a flooding in the warehouse and raw materials are not there, okay? And you have a lot of client waiting and you need raw material. If this one of the disruption you anticipate, you have an agreement with your supplier that they should be able to supply you, for example, within 1 week or within 2 days or 3 days, certain quantity of raw materials. Otherwise, you don't deal with them. So
okay.
You agree, and this is very well known practice before business continuity management system. For example, for the automotive industry, for the aerospace industry, okay? For example, let's say Mercedes or General Motors or Toyota, if you are a supplier to them and you supply them, for example, tires, radios, whatsoever, any component on the car, in the contract with you, they will not sign a contract with you. I mean, they have a lot of other requirements, but this is one requirement regarding supply. If you cannot guarantee to them that you always have 3 months supplies ready to be supplied to them at any time, they will not sign a contract with you because they might have a problem, okay? They might have shortage. They might have any problem. So, and they don't have raw material. So they want you to supply them right away. And you need to have 3 months supply anytime. And when we audit on behalf, we do audits on behalf of automotive industries. And this is one of the requirements we audit. Do you have 3 months supply ready all the time? So that's their part of your business continuity management system and the supply chain.
Okay.
Any other question, please?
Yep. If you have any questions, you can either say it out loud or write it in the chat. No problem. Okay. Okay, if there are no more questions, I would just like to bring to your attention, in case you're interested, that we're also having a one full day online training about this course on November 10. It could be the first step towards, you know, preparing your employees and your staff as part of their competency in this subject. So if you're interested, let us know. I will also send the recording and the presentation of this session. And I will also mention the date of the training in case you're interested or anyone you know is interested.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending.
Thank you very much.
If you have any questions, also you can ask us via email, myself or Mr. Mohammed, no problem.
Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you everyone for joining our webinar. Have a good day.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.